Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Boy, this Rusty project is never ending. I'm glad we got him off the mountain. If you guys are subscribed to the channel, I'm sure you saw the very long video I posted of the rescue and the recovery for Rusty, which, hey, I'm not surprised. I built a prototype vehicle and I'm trying to perfect it, and I get free parts from Bud Nixon of Nixon Overland YouTube channel, and what happens? If something fails, I mean, I pulled the transmission apart to bulletproof it, and it lasted 20 miles. Now that's the first automatic transmission rebuild that I've done, so I'm not surprised, and I didn't invest very much money into it. But let me show you what we've got going on here today. Strangely enough, I stayed home on Monday to do a little bit of recovering and cleanup and whatnot, and lo and behold, on Craigslist, found a guy up in Washougal, deep in the woods in the middle of nowhere, that had one of these transmissions for 250 bucks. And the story kind of goes that he and his friends pulled the motor and transmission out of a Isuzu MPR that had been wrecked with only 90,000 miles on it. And this transmission got pulled off the back of the motor, and they kept the motor and used it for something else, and I ended up with this. So I have another transmission. I'm gonna keep my eye out for more. You know, there are some on Craigslist right now, but the prices are astronomical, so whenever I run across one that's a good deal, I just jump on it, head out there, grab it, and come back. So I don't know how far I'm gonna go with this. I did order another shift kit. I might just do the valve body to increase the pressure, and take all the new solenoids that were in the transmission that's blown and rusty and put them in here. However, if I were to guess what went wrong, I'm gonna say the planetaries went out again. Only because we were hearing a weird noise that I was telling you guys about. It sounded like a power steering pump cavitating, like dragging air through the system. And you would only hear it in third and fourth gear. You wouldn't hear it in first and second. The other clue that I got when we were out testing them was the output line on the transmission was hot, but the return line was cold. However, the transmission temperature gauge would never register anything above 140 degrees, which was odd because if you touched the transmission pan, it was definitely at the same temperature as the oil, which was around 190 degrees or whatever once you got warmed up. So I'm gonna have to investigate that. I'm gonna guess that maybe that line it's either clogged, or I put a fitting in there that's blocking the flow, which would be the transmission temperature sensor. I'm wondering if it's poked in far enough that it's blocking the flow, the return line, so nothing was actually going through there. That's kind of a clue. The other clue that we had was that there's bubbles on the dipstick when we pulled it. And the only other thing I can think of is that the filter that's on the transmission, the external filter, is blocking the flow somehow. But I don't know. We're going to get into that here. I'm going to pull it apart, see what happened to it. But first, this right here is a bin of spare parts for the Snowcat. I am going to do a little bit of a garage cleanup here since spring is coming up, and I want to get some more space, and I don't even know what I have sitting on the shelf here. I've just gathered up all these parts and just kind of left them here. So I want to go through this and get all that cleaned up. You guys may remember from the first shelter build we did that we had this file cabinet. This is now my transmission parts cabinet for the Snowcat. So I'm going to start transferring stuff, known good parts, out here, and then chucking the rest of it and getting rid of it. We've got so much stuff out here. I mean, Willow took some of the clutch rings and made this Tyrannosaurus Rex yard art thing that she's starting on, but that's her thing. Anyhow, let's get into it here. I am waiting for Willow to return home so we can get Rusty back into the garage here. I don't know how that's gonna go. I know he has forward for a little bit, but he's got no reverse again, so what a mess. Let's get started. Okay, well, we got Rusty into the garage here. It was pretty uneventful. You guys have seen me do this before. He wouldn't go in reverse, so I put the Outback behind the trailer on the street and winched him down. The only gear he has, once again, this is very similar to the last time the transmission failed, is first gear. That's it. If he shifted into anything else, you have to turn it off and start over again because he won't move at all. And we got a bonus casualty here. Since Rusty's a fighter, I guess he decided to pinch flat one of his tires. It must have been low on pressure, although I thought I filled them all up before we took off. So yeah, so we've got foam filled front and rear. Well, that's the rear and that's the front, but I think the simplest way to solve this problem is to buy 6 new tires and get these all foam filled. So I'll get those pulled off and brought over to Industrial Tire in Portland and have them foam fill them. That's just one other thing to add to the list. You know, this can turn into a nice summer project if we keep finding things that break. And I'll do the same thing on this side. Pull all 6 intermediate tires, take them to Industrial Tire and have them foam filled. You know, Rusty's good at one thing, and he really likes to dig into the old pocketbook. So just keep dishing it out, Rusty, and I will keep fixing ya. I know you really like going out and having fun. You're very stressful at times, but you're also very fun, so no worries there. Hey guys, we're on day 2 of this wonderful, joyful transmission thingamajig, I guess you could call it. So yesterday, I got the, nothing worth filming because you guys have seen all this before, but I'll just go over this. I took out all the paneling and everything, and with a few more bolts off of the flywheel and the flex plate there, we're basically ready to pull the transmission. I got to drop the cooler lines and a couple other small things like the shifter cable, but it's pretty much ready to come out. So we're going to use the old winch trick that you've seen in a previous video to pull the transmission out, and then I'm going to have the fabulous Willow come out here and help me get it on the table. Once we get it on the table, I'm going to drop the pan and pull off all of the new solenoids and see what the double magnets in there hold. Yesterday I drained only about a gallon of fluid came out of the transmission pan, and there was some very small, maybe medium-sized metal chunks in there. So I'm still going with the fact that I think the planetary's blue. And for what that reason is, I have no idea. I don't know these transmissions well enough to. I mean, this will be the second set of planetaries that have blown in a Jatco JR403E. That comes to this situation here. I don't know if I'm gonna tear this one apart aside from dropping the pan, putting those new solenoids in, and then putting a new gasket on it. I think that's the extent that I'm willing to go with this one, just because, well, even though I built that transmission to the specs that the manual had, you could see that it still failed for some reason. Now, unless it's something obvious like the cooler lines are blocked or something like that, then yeah, I will go ahead and tear this one down and put the Transgo kit in it and all that, but I'm not sure if I want to put all that effort into it. On a side note, I do have something coming up that will eliminate the flashing light on the dash and allow me to see the temperature inside the transmission at the pan, as well as see which gear I'm in. and a couple other neat little features, like you can see the pressure that's being applied to the gears and the clutches. So that's coming up. That's a ways out. It's a 2 or 3 week build time on that little setup, but it should be interesting. Even if it only lasts for 20 miles, it'll be pretty neat. But let me start pulling this apart, and we'll get the transmission on the table here and figure out where in the heck we went wrong. Alright guys, I got the transmission out and I smashed the bejesus out of my finger here. You're going to want to look away if you're squeamish. But yeah, smashed that pretty good. I'm going to have to lance that open later and let all that pressure out, but it's throbbing pretty good. And I wandered around the house in that I'm sure you guys have done that before, where you take really short footsteps and walk really fast to make the pain go away. Anyhow, yeah. So we got that going on. Thanks for that, Rusty. And then we got this going on. Tons of metal shavings. Although it's not big chunks, which makes me think it's clutch and steel band or bearing material. I am going to pull this apart and figure out what the heck went wrong. Hopefully the planetaries survive. Those are the most expensive parts of these transmissions. But I am going to pull all of the solenoids off of this, and because they are brand new, and we're going to transfer those over to the transmission that I got, because that's one thing that's a common failure on these, is the solenoids go wonky. Strangely enough, there's not too much metal on the pickup screen, which kind of makes me wonder what the heck is going on here. But I'm going to keep moving forward, tearing this apart, and we'll go from there. That's planetaries. There's no way in heck that they didn't blow. There's big chunks of this stuff everywhere. And it stinks really bad. Here's some other big pieces on the drums. So yeah, the whole transmission is shot once that happens. There's no way to get all those little tiny fragments out of all the galleries and stuff like that in here. So now, I'm just gonna salvage what I can out of it. I already pulled the solenoids out and set those aside. What a shame. All the parts inside there are just junk now. So you can save some of the drums and stuff like that, but you have to run them through a parts washer a million times and all kinds of fun stuff like that. So yeah, this one's shot, but let's pull it apart and see what the damage is. Well, I think you found the guilty party here. Like I was guessing, the planetaries are trashed. It looks like this one lost a pin and then just decided to drive itself into all the other gears. And I can't even get this assembly apart. I mean, it is, the entire thing is welded to itself. Here's one of the carrier bearings. Look at how hot it got. So, yeah. Parts that are salvageable. Well, this is trashed because it's all scarred up. You could never put another bearing in there, so that's junk. This doesn't look bad. Could probably be cleaned up. Although all of the little teeth there are nicked. So that's trash. Looks like the bushing in this one is trashed. And then it got hot, really hot right there, so that's garbage. This surprisingly looks good. I don't think this took any of that heat, and all the teeth look nice. So we'll keep that one, just set it aside. The carrier assembly here in the front is still good. The bushing survived, nothing happened to that, so that piece is a keeper. Another clutch assembly. That needs maybe a new bushing. Doesn't look that bad, but there's really no scarring. So that's a keeper. The pump assembly may or may not have picked up some debris, but I'm not going to take that apart today. I'm just going to set that aside in the parts drawer. But this whole drum, I believe, is trashed. There's debris that you'll never get out of every little crack and crevice. So these are the casualties here. We've got this needle bearing. The planetary assemblies are trashed. And then this pile of junk right here. So the case, once you send metal filings through it, it's really hard to clean everything out. So that's most likely not usable either. Same thing with the valve body, that's trash too. So, don't know what caused that. I want to say that as soon as I reassembled the transmission and took it out the first time, this little pin here let go, and then the rest of it happened after that, which would explain the noise that we were hearing in third and fourth gear, because this engages in third and fourth gear. So yeah, that's about all there is, and that's about all I got for you guys today. Once again, I'm saving a bunch of parts off of that transmission. We'll add them to that one, but I don't think I'm going to tear that one apart, aside from doing the valve body and the solenoids, swapping those out. I think I'm going to leave that alone and not monkey with it. And then what we're going to do once we get it installed is test the flow of the cooling circuit and make sure that's working, because I was never able to register any temperature from that would say that something's wrong. And obviously this got really hot, and it would have been well above 200 degrees for this to happen. But anyhow, I think that's going to be it for this episode, guys. If you like this episode, give me a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed yet, I'd love to have you as a subscriber. And hey, stay tuned. We'll keep this rusty project going. I don't know how many episodes this is going to end up with, but it's getting ridiculous already, and we can make it even more ridiculous. So there's a bonus in that. But other than that, guys, I hope you're staying safe, taking care of each other. And as always, I'll catch you next time. See you later. Bye-bye.